Welcome back to the shop. Once again, we are back with our 10K bike. We've got to finish up this wiring, and so let's knock it out this week so that when Spears is done with all the paint and artwork, we can put it on and start our 10K motorcycle giveaway. It's been a long journey. I believe this is video number 6, maybe, and we're getting there. That's all I can say. So welcome back to Butler Customs Motorcycle Shop. Now, as you can see here, it looks like I've made more of a mess. But off camera, between video 5 and video 6, I've been just kind of mocking things up in my wiring. Now, of course, if we were going with the chopper wiring, this would have all just been ripped out. We would have ran our own wire. We'd been done about 3 videos back. But because I'm trying to save on the stock wiring so that whoever wins this can have turn signals, a horn button, high beams, low beams, brakes, all the safety stuff that their state might require. I want somebody to enjoy this and to ride it and to be proud of it, whoever wins it. So in doing that, I've got to do things a little different than I would. I'm mocking up everything, twisting wires together, putting heat shrink over them just so they're not wild and loose, and testing everything out. Then in this video, what we're going to do is start wiring everything in permanently, deciding where we're going to put things. And I did find some things digging around in the buckets and things that came up, because this literally was a basket case. Nothing was even bolted in good. And I think I checked everything. So everything should be good and tight now as far as frame and motor and carburetor, air cleaner zone, pipes are on. We actually took it down the road. Now we just got to get the wiring tucked up and put up nice and neat, so we can just put the tins on and call it a done deal. Call it a bike ready to go. Of course, we'll take it down the road and all that fun stuff. So let me walk you around and show you what I got set up now and what we had to do this week to finish this wiring. So on this wiring, of course, we had our key hooked up last time. I've got some jumper cables just ran to my hots and grounds that we're going to hook to the battery. I went ahead and just put in wires for my turn signals in the rear and my high beam and low beam for our rear light. And then I ran some wire around these tabs here that will ground to the fender once we get it on. But I've just got it ran up into a ground wire that runs right into here. I've got my oil pressure switch hooked up to ground. Now on these, the lights will come on when a ground is made. So when you turn the key on, there's ground in this oil sensor, and then when pressure builds up, the ground's released and the light up here goes off. Same for the neutral switch. However, I messed up on the neutral switch. When this cover was off, guess what I forgot to put on? The wire for the neutral switch, which is buried right under here. I think I've used this mirror and got up in there. I think I can take some needle nose with the wire and snap it onto the end of that neutral switch. It's kind of like the neutral switches that you'll see up here on touring bikes. It's just like a little metal click-on thing with a wire, and then we can bring the wire out of here where our ignition wires are and run it away from this pipe and run it back up in here and into the wire that runs up here for our neutral switch. I dug in the baskets and the buckets and found some turn signals for our rear. And then I also found the front turn signals, which have these little brackets here. And they will actually, you'll take this bolt out right here. You'll use a longer bolt like this. And then that curve sets right around here. So we'll have turn signals in the front. I got our light hooked up. I've got our flasher relay in. Now this took me a good day to figure out, and I've still not got it figured out. It works, but I don't know how it works. I just don't know, and I need to know. So I'm hoping some of you will educate me on this old, I think it's an 86 to 90 wiring. Now in 91, they went with the module, the self-canceling module, and it works little different. It works how I think it should work. These, I always thought that you got power in, and then the load coming out would be your, right? And mostly you would run 2 flashers like this. You'd run one for your left side, one for your right side. Well, this is wired to just use 1 flasher, and I don't know how it works. I'll show you on the schematics how I wired it. I wired it like the book said, and it works, but I don't understand how it works. So what you're going to see up here is a big old mess that we've just got to clean up. And of course, we'll shorten wires and we'll run looms and we'll do all that. We'll solder the wires correctly. But right now I was just testing on things. And I'll show you how it's all together. Now there are some things, it looks like everything up here is powered by 1 orange wire. And as you can see, our flasher relays are wired off that, our headlights wired off that. Well, maybe not our headlight, but all of the power up here is wired off this orange light. And wired off this orange wire. The orange wire actually runs back into all these individual bulbs, and then your ground works, like on your oil pressure switch, that's your ground, your neutral switch, that's your ground, all those lights up there. Then when you run back here, you've got the original harness. So what I might do, instead of 6 wires running into this 1 orange wire up here, is run 6 wires in a loom back with this, get rid of this loom, run our own loom, and put it in so that all of our connections are back here and not just a bunch of wires running together up here. I think that would make it look sleeker up here. Remember, we got rid of everything in the headlight housing. And doing that, I don't want to just put it on the outside of the housing and jumble everything together. So maybe run all of our wires in a loom back here, take these old harnesses off, and run our own loom back here. I might keep this because it's so thick you can probably run wires in it. I'm not sure yet. Run it back here and then do all of our jumbled connections back here because that's going to be hidden and under there. So I was able to utilize a lot of things that are still on the bike. This is the rear harness for the brake light and turn light. So I will snip this off because I don't have this end. And I looked through all the other harnesses and boxes, and evidently when I went to 91 from a 90, they changed a lot of things. And so I cannot find the harness that hooks into that. So I'm just going to snip it. We'll wire it in together. You shouldn't ever have to take it apart. If you do, just cut it at the solders and then resolder it. No big deal. All of our circuit breakers are working. Everything on here is working as it should. So let me hook some battery juice up. We'll put the key in and we'll make sure everything's working up here as it should. The horn, I did find the horn. So I did find a horn in all the stuff. However, when I tested it, this horn is bad. And I even ran wires just to ground and hot. It's bad. It does not work. So this horn's shot. I do have the cover though. So that's good, and the bracket for it that holds it, so that's good. But this horn, I just got to grab a new horn out of something or somewhere. I probably got one in a box. I need to look for a new horn. Good thing is, in searching for all this, because I want the winner to have a horn, look what I found. The proper bracket for the petcock that's going to hang down here, our choke wire here, this right here, holds our horn bracket on, and then we can put our key, wherever we want to. We don't have to worry about that. But this big cutout here, I'll show you. And the mount that was on here, there was no cutout here, and the petcock was kind of hitting on this, and there's no really where to put a horn up to or anything like that. So, or the choke. and the choke hangs down here. So this right here, if you look at this, is going to give us everything we need. And I believe this is the one that came on the bike. So I got my jumper cables hooked up here, and I got them hooked up to all the wires up here. Let's get our key in. We'll go one click over. Now, as you can see, our oil pressure light is on. Hope you can see that. And our illumination for the speedometer is on. If I hold this down, the right turns. That's our right turn on the rear. I'll hold this. And that's our right turn on the front. And our turn up here is flashing. Now when I hold the left handlebar turn, we've got it there. And we've got it back there. And that is flashing. Now when we go to key over at night to turn the lights on, you'll notice we've got our running light on the rear. We've got our headlight in the front. And these also glow up. And I looked in at the wiring diagram, and it's not wired for these to come on at night. I guess if you got that, you don't need that. But then why, if you got a headlight, you need that? I don't know. These, to run these bright on and then to flash as well, takes a dual filament. So the two fronts are dual filaments. The ones on the rear are single filaments. And that's how it's wired in the manual. But now you still have your turns. It's flashing there. It's flashing there. And it's flashing there on the front. It's hard to see with the headlight shining on it. And then my lefts as well. Flashing there. Flashing there. And flashing there. And then, of course, my headlight switch for dim and bright. Works great. And now let's check out our brake. So now when I push on the rear brake, that illuminates. And when I squeeze my front brake, that illuminates as well. So everything is wired and working as it should. The only thing is my neutral switch. But like I said, I think we can get up in under there and snap that thing on. I just got to find one to use for it. Now, I did find one of these. This doesn't fit on there because the sensor is way bigger. But I do have this. And I'm thinking if I can just cut the plastic away, because this is just basically a ground. So even if it touches something, it's not going to, spark or anything. It's just a ground switch. I can cut the little plastic away from this and then spread the center of that metal out, and then it'll snap on. And then I'll run me a junction there. Probably run it up like this. I'll try to even drop this down in there, and then I can just push it on. And then that'll be our neutral wire. It is wired up here in the top for this light, but right now there's nothing coming out. And I did find the neutral light running out here, and it is a light brown down here. So that's supposed to run over to our neutral light, our neutral switch. So I've got everything mocked up and working. Now, the way that it is, we just got to go back and clean everything up. So like this flasher, I don't want this flasher just hanging out up here. So I'm going to route the flasher to be back here under the seat and secure it, and then run the wires back up through this way. So we're going to be getting rid of this harness, cutting this sheathing off. I like this because it's insulated. So if I can reuse this, we will. I'm not sure. We'll have to just see about that. And then, of course, this connector here for my headlight will go inside the bucket of the headlight. And then all these other wires will run this way, be connected back there. So you'll see everything from up here run together in one harness with everything all the way back together. Now, I did have this. This is the pink wire for the tachometer. It goes up in here and then runs up here, but we don't have a tactometer, so I wanted to leave this, so I just stuck it up in there because there's no power to it. And then this wire here is the hot for our horn. When you push the horn button in, I just got to get us a horn and try it out and see how that works. Now, our fender wiring, I'm not going to be able to do until we get the fender on, get this light mounted, see where it's going to set, then I know how much wire to run. Now, I can run some excess wire, you know, back here. I really have to wait till the fender's on to run the harness up from here, down in here, back here, up in the fender, in the little catches of the fender, and in here wherever this is going to, you know, live. I've got some extra lights here as well, and I got some of these that have this, you know, extension thing on it, like that. That looks really good and brings the blinkers out. I might try to find another one of these. I'm sure I've got tons of them laying around somewhere. Then we can put those on these and have them out a little bit. I think that'll look good. The front ones will be tucked in up here. I think that'll look good. You know, it come up with this box of these. So I tried these. However, I quickly discovered that the Badlands thing here, it is not like a self-canceler, nothing like that. What this is basically where you can run LED lights. So it's like a resistor. That's all that is. So I could not use that as a flasher. There's no flashing thing in this. So I just hooked them up because I took them apart. They are bulbs. So I'm like, well, we can just run bulbs. So I tried these because these are sleeker. They're not the big round ones. And they would not light up. Some would just kind of barely flash. So I took this apart. And as you can see, you got one hot wire running into each bulb. And then this is actually grounded to this body. And this then grounds to your forks or your fender. But even out of the bike, when I just pushed this on, they would not light up bright. They were just so small, you could barely see them. So I opted not to use these at all. But they just would not work. So I ditched that. I tried them, but I ditched that idea. Now let's talk about wire loom. You have these plastic kind of wire looms that you'll see on most bikes. These are hard to run wires through, especially if they've been used. More like this. These are super hard, really hard to run wires through. Then you have these kind of split looms like this that split open. You can run things through there. However, I find that these get really brittle over time. They just look bulky. You know, you got them even this big like this. They're just really bulky. They don't seem to form to the wires. The wires just kind of run through this, and this is the form you got. So this is real bulky underneath or a tank or by a frame, and if you go to zip tie it down, then it's going to smash it out like that. I just don't like these. They do offer them in different sizes. They're okay to use in some areas. I just don't like them. Now, of course, you can just wrap with electrical tape. I think that looks awful because you can see the tape as it's wrapped. It often starts peeling up and off. If it gets warm, it gets gooey, and if there's lumps in your wires, it shows that. So I tend not to use electrical tape. Also, they have fabric tape that is much like this. It's like a fabric material. And you put that on, but the problem with the fabric material is as you wrap it, just like you would tape, you still have these lines in it, and you'll still get lumps in that cloth tape. I don't like that look. It might work fine, but I just don't care for that look that looks like it's been taped. So here's what I like to use. It is called wire sleeve tubing, and it is actually looks like a fabric. Now I've got it still in the box. This is 25 foot of it. Reason for that is you can go to O'Reilly's or a parts store and you can get 10 foot of this 1/2 inch, and it is going to be $32. You can go to Harbor Freight and get this 25 foot 1/2 inch, and it's $9 and something. Now you say, wait a minute, this says indoors. You can't use that on a bike. You absolutely can. Operating temp, 104 degrees to 302 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is fine to use like that for motorcycle stuff. Now you say, well, but it's not flame resistant. Well, buddy, neither is this, and neither is this, okay? Maybe they make some tape that's flame resistant, but if your bike's on fire, you got bigger troubles than what your wires are wrapped into. So pull this out and I'll show you why I like this. So as you can see by the look of it, it looks really good. It's not wrapped. You don't see the wrap lines. It's really, really nice. And also, if you look, when this wraps in on itself, it folds around on itself and gives it a really clean look. As an example, this doesn't. It just goes up to a point and you still have these gaps here. And what you wind up doing is you don't like these gaps and you got a wire poking out. So you wind up taping this anyway and it looks awful. So I like this. It's sleek, it looks good, it bends good, and it expands in on itself so that you can run pretty good sized wires through there and it still folds in on itself. You can run smaller wires like that and it still folds in itself. And of course, wherever this ends, you can take some electrical tape and tape that into whatever, other harness you're going into. And that's the only tape you'll see, and that kind of secures it. But I love this. I love how it looks. I love how it operates. I love how you put it on. It's super nice. And it's $9 for 25 foot. You can't beat that. And it's made, I looked up the materials. It's made out of the same thing you would buy at a parts store that's used for automotive wiring. They just label it as cable wiring indoor, but it is the exact same thing. So that's what we will be using. That's what I think will look the best, especially up behind the headlight and running down the tank, although you won't see it under the tank, but then running back, just any parts that you might see, you're going to see this and you're going to say, man, that looks really nice. So that's what we're going to be using. Now, help me understand the blinker wiring. Oh, by the way, this that we wrote out last time worked great. My light brown I figured out was my neutral switch. My pink is my tack. So the only one we didn't use in this harness was this pink one. All this matched up really, really good. And I went and labeled kind of not just the colors, but what they went to. But help me understand this. On my light switch, I got a left turn signal switch. I've got a right turn signal switch up here. According to this, they just run together. They are wired together, and I have never seen that before. So my right button is wired into my left button, and they go to just that metal flasher. And then the metal flasher gets power from all that orange, that one orange wire that's all connected. That goes to the horn, that goes to my lights, it goes, everywhere's got power this orange wire feeds. And so power goes into the flasher, but then the flasher is operated by these two switches. So power goes in here of the flasher, the metal flasher, which is this, which this is a 3-1, but we're going to use a 2-1 because there's only 2 wires here. So here's where I got scrambled up in my brain. Power's going in and loading the flasher. Then power's coming out. And I always thought if you had power in, you had power coming out that was intermittent. But I guess not, because you don't hear this flashing until I push a button here or push a button here. And I've never seen 2 switches wired to the same flasher. It was bizarre to me. So evidently power comes into the flasher here, goes out, and runs to these 2 switches. But when no connection evidently is made to a bulb, this doesn't flash. So then when I push the right turn signal, it sends power up that runs down here into my front left turn signal and then back as well to my left rear turn signal. And I thought that's how it worked, but that's not, I don't understand, because the other side of my left front turn signal, when it runs up here, and then my rear turn signal is just grounded out in the frame or the fender back there, and same with the right. I had to use a dual filament in the front, and that's what was throwing me off, okay? One wire going in, a ground wire. So 2 wires, right? That's a single filament. But up here, 2 wires. So I thought, okay, one's a hot, one's a ground. Nope, doesn't work like that. These, for me to get this to work, had to be a dual filament, so 3 wires. A ground wire and 2 different hots. A ground wire up here on the left front and 2 different hots. So that's what was throwing me off. I could not get it to work any other way. If I used a single filament up here in the front, it did not work. It was because I had no ground. And with just a single filament, I either had the hot on when I had the lights, then you hit the blinker, nothing would happen. With it off, no hot coming in here. I just had hot in here, but no ground, right? So it took me a minute to figure that out. If you're gonna do this, or you're having trouble with your 86 to 90 blinkers, and you're running a single flasher like it says, if I'm not mistaken, these up here in the front have to be a dual filament. Now, what do I mean by dual filament? So a dual filament will have 2 lights inside the one bulb. One arm it comes up and the other over here. And on the bottom, you'll see it has 2 connectors. Now on a light bulb, we know that the body here is ground, and then one is a dimmer light and one is a brighter light. So that is a dual filament. That's what's on the front. On the rear is a single filament. Just one hot going in, one body of ground here, and as you can see, maybe, hopefully, just one filament inside. Whereas you might not can see in this dirty bulb, but there's 2 in there, just one in here. So I had to run dual up front and single in the rear. Now, if I wanted running lights to come on, all I would have to do is to tap into this blue wire, which is my lights on, and it actually runs back here to my running light on my tail light. So I could just tap in right here to both of these dual filament bulbs if I wanted to do that. Then when I turn my lights on at night, these would illuminate on the lower setting with this, and then I would run my other wires, my brown and my purple or violet, into the hot side, the bright side. So we can easily do that while we're at this stage. The only problem is I could not find another set of dual filament wires. So this is single filament, 1 ground, 1 hot coming in. A dual filament will have 3 wires, or this will be grounded, and it'll have a running light and then a hot light, a bright light. I just couldn't find them. This is what I found. We're gonna go with just singles in the rear and duals in the front. And that will be fine. And they will have turn signals and running lights in the front for the turns. So the main thing we gotta work out in this video is not only cleaning up all of our connections, but we've got to basically move this and this to the underneath the fender or underneath the seat. That way everything's clean up front, runs all into one harness through this nice, beautiful loom, and then all of our kind of ugliness will be under the seat. Now we'll try to make it as neat as we can, maybe even label it if we want to for people that's going in and wanting to do something different. Because I might not have, once I run wires all the way to the back, they might not be matching factory. And I'll probably make a diagram, a wiring diagram that's just for this bike and give to whoever wins it. So they know, hey, by the time this black wire gets all the way back here, it's not black anymore, it's a black and white. So I will do my own diagram for them so they've got it. So now that we have everything working as it should, I went ahead and got rid of all the old sheathing. So it had this hard plastic up here on the front. It had this sort of fireproof sheathing on the back here, primarily because this head gets so close to this frame here. So what I'm gonna do is kind of save on this so that after I kind of get everything ran, I can take just a portion of this and cut it, and I can put back around the wires to zip tie it. And then when this goes back up here, it'll have that protective sheathing over it. And it'll be zip tied in right there, so you'll never see the difference. Remember, our tank's gonna come all the way back here. Then our seat's going to come up here. So really, if you got up under the bike and looked, you would see that. Otherwise, you would not. Then, of course, our battery sits right here with the cover, and all of our wiring is going to go in behind this with the oil tank on the right side and the battery tray and cover on the left. So now that we've got all the sheathing off and we've got everything wired where it's going to run, now we can begin the process of just soldering in our wires here, running all this up here, back here into that cavity, and then tying everything in together back there. So what that means is that instead of everything being jumbled here, it's going to be connected back there, which means a lot of this we won't need, or we can use as we tie into there, into the front. So it's not like we're going to be running extra wires. There will be a couple, but mainly we're going to use these because we're tying into it back there, but they'll still, after they're tied in back there, come up here to all of our lights. Really, all these wires are running is our controls and our lights. That's pretty much it up there. Now with this off, we can decide what we're going to do with this. Now remember, I've already got the new bracket in here and the choke cable on here. And it comes out, stays out, half, all the way in. So that worked out great. This hole here is going to provide for our petcock to go down in, and then the line to go right up under the intake and into our carburetor. Or does it go over? Let me see real quick. I don't want to tell you wrong and you be crying about it. Let's see. Yeah, it'll go actually over the intake. So it'll actually come in here and just go straight over the intake there. I might run some sheathing around the fuel line, and we can even take some of this, a piece of this, and wrap around the fuel line, zip tie it, just for a little bit of heat protection. If it gets close to this rear head, we don't want it getting hot and boiling that fuel. Then our horn will attach right here. I say all that to say this. I don't think with this bracket that we can mount, we can't mount it there because the horn's going to be there. Can't mount it there, that would look goofy. So we're either going to make a bracket that comes right over here by the battery tray, tucked up in here nice and neat, or we got enough wire now, we can run it up through our harness, run it under here, and come out on this left side. And we can even make a bracket into this bracket holder for the coil, or we can drill and make a new bracket in this gusset right here. But either way, I think running it over here is going to be probably our best look cosmetically. And I think we've got enough wire. If we have to add a little extra wire, we can. So I'm actually glad that we did not cut that wire, remember? That's why I wanted to leave it long. We'll be replacing this bolt here as well. But just to get it up there to kind of hang it, and probably hang it out here about right there, and that'll give us plenty of wire. Now I did find another switch that was keyed, but not like a Harley key. It had a regular key, which I believe was what these had. And it had a little plastic cover over it that told off, on, accessory, lights. So I'm thinking it'll fit on that. I don't think they changed the size of the key. They just went with a different key. Of the key cylinder, they just went with a different key. So I'm thinking that'll work. Set my key over there so I don't lose it. So I'm going to try to find some colors that's going to match up best with this. Of course, Harley and this year did not use multicolored wires. They're all single color. I will be using multicolored wires because that's the pack that I buy. That's what they are. So as I add a wire that might be a different color, I will record that so when we get back here, we don't get lost. Saying, what does this go to? I don't know, you tell me. And then we get into an argument and then, you leave mad. I don't want that. So as we start beginning just, connecting our wires, any wires that join like this, I don't want them joining up here. I want them joining back there. So right now I'm just going through and connecting the wires from the handlebars and the lights that only connect to the wires running back. That way I know they're single connection, so I don't have to worry about any junction with them. Now I'll give you a little tip. When you're working with soldering and having to torch. You're going to torch up here and you could burn a whole lot of things up here. Somebody in the past, if you look here, has torched this right here. So this braided cable, which at one time was clear, now it's yellow. I do not like braided cables at all. Remember the Shovelhead FXR? The braided oil lines? About burnt that bike down. Anywho's in house. This turns yellow over time. It looks awful, but somebody burnt this right here. Now, I've not been working up in here, but somebody got a hold of that. A way you can prevent that is to get you a thick, I like to use just like a thick piece of plastic. If you use metal and put it behind here and then use heat, the metal could get hot and it could melt wires behind the metal that you don't even see that you're melting. So I just like to use a really thick piece of plastic, maybe something you've cut a fender off or you've shortened a fender, maybe something like this that you've just cut in half. So different applications. Of course, curved one works good in some areas, but mostly I just use this flat one like this. This is actually fiberglass. So to me, fiberglass works a lot better than plastic. So I can move all my wires like this. Put that there, then I can turn my light stick on and I can get in there good and close and all around, and I don't have to worry about burning any wires back here. I got a little too close there, just kind of scorched the sheathing. I didn't get through anything, so no big deal there. Just a little tip for you when you're soldering with the heat gun with those nice little soldering connectors that I love. I have these on my Amazon store. I go through packs and packs of these. Different sizes. I've got some yellow ones too. I don't use too much of those. Now on the ignition with the thicker wire, we will use the yellow ones, so you'll see that. But the blue ones are probably the ones I use the most. For thinner wires, the red ones I use as well. But these are great. They have the solder inside of them already. But not only that, they've got these weather protection strips on each side. So you twist your wires together, run this up on there, go ahead and get your heat shrink on there as well. And then as you heat around this, the solder melts into the connector that you've made, that you twisted together. And then these weather strips shrink as well to seal it so that water cannot get into your solder. And then of course this tubing shrinks as well. It makes for a really strong connection. You don't have to crimp. You don't have to worry about a crimp coming apart. Once you solder these, that's probably the strongest part of your wire. So always keep you some of these. They make quick work of wiring and it's done well. And again, I got those on my Amazon store. It might give you a little discount if you use those. I went ahead and mounted my lights up. Now we will be cutting away a lot of wiring here, but maybe not. If we're going to connect these not up here, but back there, then we're going to run this back as far as it'll go and then connect in the harness. So I'm just going to keep on working. Like I got a gray wire here that runs all the way back. I'm going to get all the single connections ran into the main wiring thing here. Then see what we got left and start running wires back for that. All right, we have updates. So all of this is now separate. So I can loom this. I can loom these together. I can loom the left-hand control together. These are my 3 wires that are going to run out to my actual headlight connector once I get the headlight housing back. Then everything here runs right here together. Of course, I left myself a lot of slack. I just zip tied this just to hold kind of things up. And all this running down here, I know it looks more of a mess, but it's all labeled and it's all going to run right back in here. I've got my ignition switch wired as well. I used the big connectors, and then I didn't have any big heat shrink, so I used the liquid tape. Oops, still wet. The liquid tape on that, which works really, really good. My rear turns are wired in. Of course, I'll have to cut them again to get the wires through the fenders into the little fender housing to go down and in here. So right in here is where everything's going to live. It is a lot of work. It's a ton of work. It would have been a lot easier to just throw this harness out, wire a new chopper harness, and be done with it. But They will have turn lights. They will have all the warning lights on top. They'll have brakes and headlights and a horn and all that wonderful stuff. So this is going to look a lot better. It took me all day to get here, and I ain't kidding. Not joking. So I hope whoever gets this is really going to enjoy it and be able to hop on it and go and ride. And good news, while I was wiring and cutting and chopping, I got a message from Spears at Paint by Spears, who says he'll have all the tins and paint up here coming this weekend. So the next video on this, we should be putting things back on. So it really worked out well. But I want to call it a night here right now. And then in the morning, I'll meet you out here and we'll start looming everything, getting it nice and clean, start doing our connections back there. Then we'll test on our battery again to make sure we didn't, probably before I loom it, we'll test it just to make sure I didn't get anything off. The only thing connected in here is those running lights right here. When you turn the headlights on, these will come on. I connected them in here, and then I'll have my ground wire for those same lights as well that are running back. All my other grounds are ran back in here together as well. So we'll find a good spot in here to ground to, clean off a place to ground. Oh, I got to fix this here as well for my neutral or my oil pressure switch. And we got to get the neutral switch on there somewhere. Hey, buddy. What are you doing? You working? No? Okay. Yeah, this one's not going to run right now. We don't have any juice to it right now. Yeah, we're fixing all this wiring right here. So it'll run really good for somebody. Yeah, we're going to give this one away. Yeah, somebody's going to win this bike. Isn't that nice? All right, so I'm going to go in and eat a bacon sandwich, and I'll see you bright and early in the morning, and we'll button this up and get all of our wiring now finished on this bike. All right, we're back the next day, and as you can see, I went ahead and put the top hat on. That cleaned it up a whole lot. So now we don't have anything, a bunch of wires going into the housing or anything hanging down. This loom is really, really nice to use. Now, I did use a little electrical tape up at the top, and to run this loom out that actually goes in the headlight, which will be a lot shorter, I had to tape this up, and I don't like it. It just looks awful. So I'm hoping when I get the headlight situated up in there, I'm gonna run these 3 wires into the headlight. I might can just get rid of this loom here and this right here. Now on this side, I just kind of got it zip tied up there. That's what you're gonna see coming out is the 3 harnesses and then just your 2 wires for your headlights that run down. Now with the top hat on, I went to put the Speedo back on, and I don't know, you tell me, how does this Speedo go on? I know it doesn't go all the way behind the top hat and up, so I don't know, I'm gonna have to look at some pictures. Now, we can worry about that later, but I didn't think it, I don't know, I'm not sure how it ran. So we'll have to look at that. So then what I can do here is just kind of trim these back. They're really easy to wrap, they're nice to wrap. And also a good thing about these, say that in this harness here, I've got a wire that's going to come down and go to my horn. This wire right here. Well, the good thing about this loom is you can actually put a little hole in it because it's braided and stick that wire through there. It'll come right down in the back. Also need a ground wire as well. They're really nice. I really like them. So it braided these wires. This was probably our thickest wires here. Well, maybe these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wires right there. And they ran really well. 1, 2, 3, about 5 or 6 there, 5 or 6 over there. So I ran them individually. So this is all the right-hand controls here. This is all the left-hand controls here. Of course, it splits off here. And then all of my warning lights come right down through here. So everything is ran in those 3. And I think it looks pretty good. Once the tank gets on there, that right there is about all you're going to see right there of the wires. I like that. Now, what about all this back here? Well, what I want to do is run these all together. And then for that, we don't really have to run anything fancy. That's going to be up underneath the tank. So I'm okay if you want to wrap this with electrical tape, fabric tape. We will need the wire there for our horn that's going to run back behind the bracket. We will need a ground for the horn as well. But all this can be bundled up. Of course, I've got to put my ground in here as well, run it back there. So you could tape this up if you wanted to. When we get back here, I am going to take that, probably start about right here over the rear head and come back to here with that fireproof sheathing and wrap it on there as well. Then everything will drop right back in here. It's coming along well. I'm just going to keep working. I don't want to bore you with anything. If I run into any issues, I'll just let you know. Okay, I think I got the majority of it done. Yes, I did have to use electrical here, but it's under the tank. You will not see it. What you will see are these, and I think I might have messed up. Let me show you. Tons of room here for this light as the forks turn. Over here, I'm hoping that's enough slack. If not, I'll have to take all this apart and put it back. So anyway, who's in the house? I got access here to my bolt for the coil and the front of the tank. Got the harness just zip tied up here. Got my horn light ran out here. Got it zip tied up here to the frame back here. Got enough room to run my bolt through for my hole. But I don't know if this goes under or if I move this up and it tucks up inside the tank. I'm hoping that's the case. Got it zip tied to that little anchor thing here so it kind of stays up off this frame. I did use that fireproof coating and just wrapped it around here so that's protected. Again, you will not see this. You might see some of this, but that's all you'll see. Back here, I've got everything as far as my oranges that power everything up there in. Running back here, tied in my rectifier cable, left myself plenty of room for when the fender comes in. Then I can finish up everything back here as far as my brake light and turn lights. So I'm not going to mess with these. These are my turns. These are my turns. These are the power wires for my relay flasher. I'm not going to mess with any of that until I get the fender in and I can mount it, and then I know how long to run my wires. I can't quite remember where all my relays snap in. I think they're way down in here, but I don't want to guess and assume and it'd be too short. And I don't know how long to run my blinker wires. I got the ignition wire routed and soldered in together and covered. I did decide to leave the VOES line just in case you're in a state that requires that for your carburetor. So all you would have to do is run this line out, tie it into the VOES switch. You have to get you one of those. You also have to get a petcock that's got the VOES thing on it. And then run your vacuum line and you're good to go. So I wanted to leave that. I didn't want to just cut it off. I'll kind of tie it up, get it up here out of the way. And then of course this is just a ground here and a ground here that I got to tie in. This is the ground for the Dyna ignition. This is the main ground to the frame. This is the hot to the starter. And then the only other hot going to the battery is off the main relay or main mechanical fuse right here. I always call these relays, but you know what I'm saying. I got the oil switch line routed underneath between the frame and the motor as it should go. And I went to tighten it back and I put a little too much ooga boogas on it and it snapped the oil pressure bottom off back in there. So I got to get a new switch. Then all I got to do is just put this on and that's good. Neutral switch. I think I'm going to actually probably take the bike off the lift, put some cushions down, some blankets down, lay it on its side so I can get up. I just can't get my head up under there to see what I'm doing. And I can't feel there's not enough room. If I have to, we'll have to pull this off and then just pop this off. I did shave it back. I did spread it out. I'm hoping that'll pop on, but since I got to order an oil switch, I might see if they've got one of these connectors like this that actually fit on the neutral switch. That'd be a lot easier to just pop on. I can reach it with my finger, with one finger, to try to get that on, but this is still, I think, too small and not wanting to go over. I think if I had one that fitted, it would pop right on. Then I could route that back up here, and that gets routed right into this light brown wire. It runs right back down in there under the frame and to there. So it looks a whole lot better. I'm happy with it. I might, like I said, have to change some things around, but I like it. This, to be honest with you, I probably won't even need. So when the headlight gets up in here, the headlight bucket, you won't ever see this. You won't ever see that. It's going to go right into the headlight bucket just like that. So I might just delete on this, but I like this stuff. It wraps up good. I wish they probably make a thicker one. Maybe I can order that, take these zip ties off, take the tape off, put a larger one on there and run it all the way back. But I still like this fireproof kind of sheathing there. And again, once everything gets on, you will not see it. Battery tray will go right up in there like that. So you'll never see it. Now, I'll take this off and fix this too. That looks awful. Maybe turn it around or put the other part on it. I don't know. We'll deal with that. But I think this is about all I can do right now. We got the holidays coming up with Thanksgiving, so I'm down a day. So I think we're going to call this good. Now, I do need your help. If this video looks different or is better quality or the sound is even greater, nicer to you, then let me know. Clack it down in the comments because there's some new additions that I've added to our shop. Let me show you that. So I shared with our members not long ago in a members only video of my 2026 wish list of things I'm hoping for my shop as far as improving the channel, growing the channel, getting more people in the shop with us to hang out. One of that included upgrading my video and audio. And so I have done that. To do that is a huge step because getting into cinematography, video, cameras, entry level is not entry level on my pocket. You know what I'm saying? So I'm having to do it steps at a time. One of the steps was to upgrade my computer so that I could run DaVinci Resolve 20. DaVinci Resolve is a video editing software that is free, and a whole lot of production places use it, and a whole lot of YouTubers as well. I could not run it on my old computer. It just would, oh man, it burned my computer up, lagged it, overheated it. Took like 4 hours to download a 15-minute or to render a 15-minute video. So I knew I needed to upgrade. And then the camera and all that. So this is a good first step. This is a M4 Pro chip in this MacBook Pro. And so with this, I can run DaVinci Resolve. The video you're seeing right now is the very first video I'm editing on DaVinci Resolve. And I've had to do this twice. So it's taking me a minute to learn. It's a huge software program. You know, here's all my media coming in. Then it's got a screen where you just do all your editing and cutting. Another screen for a different type of editing. I can do fusion where it brings in animations and stuff. I can do color correction on this. I can adjust the audio settings and the loudness, and it's got control rooms, all these doodads and whatnots, and then a place to render it out. And because of this, I can now render in a H.265 master instead of the YouTube. It does have some more options to render in YouTube and 4K resolution, Venmo, TikTok, all this stuff. So tons more options than what I was using, which was iMovie, that just comes free on everything. So this is a really nice software. I'm learning it, and as I learn it, I find more and more cool things to do. So like, as an example, let me show you. So as an example on this shot here, I have my GoPro actually sitting across the table right here, and I'm able to film right across from me. So then I can take this shot right here and I can flip it and flip it that way. So that's what you would be seeing if you were standing in my shop. So I'm actually able to make it look like you're looking right down where I'm looking. So this is going to be really, really helpful. And I can zoom in. There's just all kinds of things that I can do with this, effects and audio, all kinds of things. Like I said, I'm still learning it. So this is going to be the first video on it. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it was a good investment. You say, well, iMovie was working fine. Your videos worked fine before. Well, here's the catch. If I upgrade to a cinematography camera, which is what I'm wanting to do, it records in RAW footage, and iMovie would not support that footage. So this will, the DaVinci Resolve and the M4 Pro chip in this MacBook Pro will support that raw footage. So I'm going to have to wait on the camera because it's a pretty big investment. But I also did upgrade to this, the DJI Mic 3. So I hope that this is a better quality audio for you. About a third of the weight of what the old one was, and it's got the cool magnetics where you can take this off and turn this any way you want it to whatever you're wearing, and the magnet can go on it as well. So I hope that my audio is a little bit better for you, and I can adjust it over here in my audio screen. And a gift that my wonderful wife got me, because with this program, a video editing mouse is really handy when you're doing all these cuts. If you look here and you see all these little lines here, those are cuts that I have made in this video. So all of these cuts, especially right in here, I've cut. So it takes a long time to do. And so my wife got me this really nice Logitech MX Master 3. So it's got a really nice scroll wheel that just flies if you need it to fly between scenes, and you can push this and it kind of locks it where it just goes a scene at a time. It's got this side thumb thing here. As I move it up and down, then it moves between my screens there. It's got a button here, 2 buttons here, 2 buttons there, a button there. Really, it's nice. There's no roller ball to it. It's Bluetooth, wireless. I'm waiting on a nicer mouse pad to come in, but this works. So I hope that things are better on the quality video and audio side. We'll see how this renders out and see how we like it. So thank you to the wonderful members that donated this MacBook Pro to our channel. It's really a blessing, and I'm going to take very, very good care of it. And I got it in black because, you know, mechanic hands. Not car mechanic or diesel mechanic hands. You know, there's levels of mechanic hands. There's diesel mechanic hands, there is car mechanic hands, and then there's motorcycle mechanic hands. And then, you know, the factory maintenance hands are a little softer than mine. No offense, no offense. I've seen your chairs in factories. Been there, done that. So I just want to say thank you so much to people that love to invest in what we do here. And I always want to put it right back to bless you guys with better quality videos and better audio. So I'm going to finish up the wiring for this when everything comes in. So all of the paint's supposed to be in this weekend, which is a couple days from now. So what I will do is shoot a video for our members only, our standard members and premium members. We'll get a sneak peek of Spears' artwork. I might even film some of him up here if he's got time to hang out. Let him talk a little bit about the artwork. Oh, by the way, I did get this. I found this and put this on, but it's bulky, it's big. I don't know what it hooks on to. It's definitely not for this year. I think I'm just going to take this off and we'll make our own little bracket comes out here because I can't even really, get this where I think it needs to go. But anyway, we'll deal with that. So what I'm saying is you're not going to miss anything. When I get the paint up here, if it's good and gassed out and ready to go, we'll start putting things on. I definitely want to get the tank on to make sure my wiring is going to fit before we go any further. The rear fender is the big thing. Then I can finish out all this wiring. The oil tank and getting the lines back on. Oil pressure switch and the neutral switch. We can do that with everything on it. It's not going to hurt nothing. So I will be filming, putting these pieces on, then finish up the wiring in the next video, installing the neutral switch wire and installing a new oil pressure switch, snapping that in. Then we got to fire it up and work on our timing. We'll static time it, get it close, and then we'll time it by ear. That's how I like to do it. And then this bike will be ready to start the 10K giveaway on this bike. Then right after that, the buffing paint restoration for Liberty should be done. And I had a company called Super Clean that sent me some of their products that we're going to try to clean up this motor and transmission and frame before we put the parts on there. Got new vintage tires for it. I got a bunch of stuff up there in the box for it from Dennis Kirk. And so we got to get this on the lift, get it cleaned up, get the tire swapped, get all of our new parts on. We got to swap take that S&S off, put the factory carb back on with the factory breather. We're going to try to get this back as factory as we can. Then the parts should be up here. We can just put the parts back on and it'll be good to go. Then after that, we have a chopper build that we're going to do. This was donated to our shop, a Sportster frame, a Sportster motor, and a hardtail frame. We are going to do Springer front end, definitely. We're going to be making everything. What's the cheapest chopper we can build? This is what you're looking at, especially with a Sportster motor. They're cheap motors. You can pick them up, gosh, $300-$400 all day long. So we'll be chopper wiring this. What you're going to see is a lot easier than what we're doing now. That's going to be fun. So thank you so much for hanging out in the shop with me for this, I don't know, part 6, part 7, part 15, 100 million, I don't know. But I told you at the beginning, we're not going to rush it. Let's take our time because we're giving this away. It needs to run and somebody get on it and enjoy it. So we're going to take our time. We're going to, do it slow, do it right. So it is what it is. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really enjoyed it. Have a great weekend with your family and friends on this holiday of Thanksgiving. And I am truly thankful to you for watching this video, for subscribing, for our members, for those that comment, like, and share, all that fun stuff. I really do appreciate it, and it means a lot to a fella. It really does. So thank you so much, and tell your mama now I said hi.